Welcome to The Explainer by Learn with Nitik. We constantly see this massive wave of content pushing the relentless grind set culture. It's that idea we've all heard a million times. If you just work hard enough, you're literally guaranteed to become a billionaire. Well, today, we're tearing down the illusion of the 100% self-made hustler. We're going to use the raw, completely unfiltered truths from Morgan Housel's amazing book, The Psychology of Money, to totally dismantle that myth. We're diving into the invisible forces that actually dictate massive success. And trust me, it's going to fundamentally change the way you look at your own journey.
Let's kick things off with a quick reality check for that whole grind set mindset. There's this savage, modern quote that basically says, "Kids change their status and profile pictures, but we directly change how people think." That is exactly the energy we're bringing today. We aren't just giving you another temporary motivational high or some flashy new quote to slap on your profile. We're going way deeper than that. We are going to completely shift how you look at the very concept of success, failure, and basically everything in between.
All right, part one, the unfiltered truth of success.
Okay, let's just strip away the shiny aesthetic filters the world puts on wealth and achievement. To borrow another great piece of modern wisdom, we don't care about filtered photos, we show the real face. Social media absolutely loves to feed us these heavily filtered success stories, right? The overnight millionaires, the flawless product launches, the perfect stock portfolios. But we want to see the real unfiltered face of how people actually make it. We're looking at the raw mechanics behind the curtain, the stuff nobody talks about when they're trying to sell you a success course.
And that brings us right to chapter 2 of Morgan Housel's book. He drops the ultimate truth bomb here. Nothing is ever quite as good or as bad as it seems. Housel makes the brilliant argument that financial success is not a hard science. It's not like physics where a specific amount of force always creates the exact same predictable result. No, it's a soft skill. And at the very heart of that soft skill is understanding two massive, completely uncontrollable forces that shape literally everything in our lives.
Let's get into section 2, Lakeside's 1 in a million.
To really prove this point, we have to look at the ultimate billionaire icon himself, Bill Gates, and his legendary start at Lakeside School. Look, we all know Gates is an absolute genius and an incredibly hard worker, but let's put his early life into some real, unfiltered context and look at the sheer statistical improbability of his starting line. Let's just do some quick math for the year 1968. There were roughly 303 million high school-age kids in the entire world. About 18 million of them lived in the U.S. Narrow that down to Washington State, you get about 270,000. In the Seattle area, around 100,000. And out of all those teenagers, a mere 300 attended Lakeside School, which happened to be one of the only high schools in the entire world that actually had a computer.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that Bill Gates had a literal 1 in a million head start simply by being at that exact school. A math and science teacher there had the remarkable foresight and the school had the cash to buy a computer. Gates was just 13 years old when he got unlimited, independent study access to this incredibly rare machine. It allowed him to become a computing expert before most college professors even knew how to turn one on.
And you know what? Even Gates himself openly admits this unfiltered truth. He actually told the school's graduating class back in 2005, if there had been no Lakeside, there would have been no Microsoft. His incredible intellect, his vision, and his relentless hustle were undeniable for sure, but they were ignited by a massive, undeniably lucky break that he had absolutely zero control over.
Which brings us to part 3, the dark side of odds.
Now we have to flip the coin. We need to look at the terrifying twin of those exact same odds, because if you're going to acknowledge luck, you absolutely have to acknowledge its dark side. I want to introduce you to Kent Evans. Kent was Bill Gates' best friend back in 8th grade, and by Gates' own account, Kent was actually the best student in the class. He was just as smart, just as driven, and equally obsessed with computers. In fact, the school once asked Bill and Kent to build a highly complex computer program to automatically schedule classes for hundreds of students, and these kids literally pulled it off. They were this legendary duo, always dreaming about their future business ventures together.
But heartbreakingly, they never got to build Microsoft together. Before he even graduated high school, Kent tragically died in a mountaineering accident. To put that into perspective, the odds of being killed on a mountain while in high school in the United States are roughly 1 in a million.
This is the ultimate mirror right here. Bill Gates experienced 1 in a million luck by ending up at Lakeside. Kent Evans experienced 1 in a million risk by stepping onto that mountain. It is the exact same force, functioning at the exact same statistical magnitude, but working in completely opposite directions. One friend was pushed toward unprecedented global wealth, and the other toward unimaginable tragedy.
Moving into section 4, luck and risk are siblings.
Let's see how this incredible story builds into Morgan Housel's profound observation about the invisible forces running our lives. He writes, "Luck and risk are siblings. They are both the reality that every outcome in life is guided by forces other than individual effort." Think about that for a second. You simply cannot believe in the power of your own hustle, your own intelligence, and your own grind without equally respecting the fact that massive external forces are playing a huge role in your final outcomes.
Because honestly, the world is way too complex to allow 100% of your actions to dictate 100% of your outcomes. You are just one single player in a giant game with 7 billion other people, all governed by infinite moving parts. The accidental impact of actions completely outside of your control can so often be far more consequential than the conscious decisions you make, no matter how incredibly hard you grind.
So part 5, stop copying the extreme outliers. This leads us to a massive realization. If the game is really this unpredictable, and if luck and risk play such a crazy huge role, why on earth are we all trying so hard to copy the exact habits of extreme billionaires? There's this brilliant attitude quote that goes, "Haters copy my style and think they've become heroes, but the value of the original never decreases." And it's so true here. Blindly copying someone else's one-in-a-million journey won't make you a hero. You can perfectly copy a billionaire's morning routine, you can read the exact same books, you can even launch a startup in the same industry. But you can never replicate their hidden luck. The original context that actually made them successful is entirely their own.
The reality is, the most extreme outcomes in business and finance are the most heavily influenced by those extreme tales of luck and risk. And because of this, billionaires and even massive catastrophic business failures are actually terrible role models for your everyday decisions. You just can't safely extract a guaranteed formula for success from an extreme outlier. It doesn't work. So what should we do instead of hero-worshipping outliers? Well, we need to follow a different set of steps. First, look for broad, repeatable patterns in society. For example, people who have control over their time tend to be happier. Now that is a broad pattern you can actually apply to your life. Second, acknowledge luck when you win. Don't let your ego trick you into thinking it was 100% your own genius. And third, forgive yourself and forgive others when invisible risks take you down. Failure isn't always about being lazy. Sometimes it's just the unforgiving reality of risk hitting you at the worst possible time.
And finally, Section 6, the learn with thhe mindset.
This all brings us to the ultimate takeaway for your daily hustle, what we like to call the learn with thhe mindset. How do we actually navigate a world governed by such wild luck and risk? Well, let's look at one last quote. Your self-respect is in your own hands. The one who gives respect will receive respect. Your self-worth shouldn't be tied to whether you hit some extreme billionaire status. True respect comes from how you handle your own unique, individual path. Give respect to the chaotic forces of the world, stay totally grounded, and you will earn the ultimate respect, which is true peace of mind. So here's your game plan moving forward. Stop idolizing the top 1%. Respect the absolute chaos of the world and truly understand that luck and risk are siblings. Stay in your lane, focusing strictly on what you can actually control, your effort, your learning, your personal resilience. And finally, always, always leave a margin of safety. Leave room for error in your finances and in your life for when things inevitably go wrong, just so a single bad break doesn't wipe you out of the game entirely.
I'm going to leave you with this final, unfiltered question to ask yourself. Next time you get tempted by some get-rich-quick hustle, or maybe you find yourself beating yourself up over a failure, are you building your success on broad, reliable patterns that you can actually control, or are you just blindly trying to copy a one-in-a-million outlier whose luck you can literally never duplicate? Really think about it. Thank you so much for joining me on The Explainer. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll catch you in the next one.